Hey everyone, it's Arcanus Gaming. Thank you for tuning in to another New World video. Today we are going to be making a beginner's guide for those looking to head into some expeditions and play the most Chad and most honorable role in the game, and that is tanking. Now this guide is going to be mostly towards the PvE aspect of things, so some of these tips can help with PvP, but we're going to be more focused on the PvE stuff. Now this guide will also be for those who have not played the New World closed beta yet, and those who haven't tried tanking at all. So some of these tips you may already know, but hopefully these will help you in the long run as well. And again, in the end, this guide is to set you up for success when you are ready to tank your first dungeon, or maybe if you're still learning, and hopefully again to improve your game just a little bit. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to be talking about is stat allocation. Now New World has 5 different stats that you could put your points into while leveling and finding on gear. Now as a tank, you kind of want to be a beefy boy, so you want to allocate most of your points into Constitution. But another cool thing about New World is that the more points you allocate into a specific stat, you get milestone bonuses. So for example, if we have a lot of Constitution, which we should, we're going to be getting these milestone bonuses each 50 points. So at the first tier at 50 points, all health consumables are 20% stronger. And then when we get 100, increases max health by 10% of your physical armor. So this bonus incentivizes you to equip that heavy armor to get that health bonus. And then the next one, minus 10% crit damage taken, and then increased armor. So you can see how these are all synergizing and how you want to get these milestone bonuses by increasing more specific stats. Now with that being said, as a tank, you want to be a beefy boy, but you also want to be a stabby beefy boy. So you want to dish out some damage to keep aggro if your taunts are down. And as a wise tank once said, being a great tank is not just about keeping aggro, it's about knowing how to get it back if you lose it. And in New World, each melee weapon does have a taunt ability, which we will go over in the next area, but that creates a lot of fun builds and flexibility. So since my favorite weapons are sword and shield and great axe, I kind of want to put more points into strength rather than anything else after Constitution. But the cool thing is, if your favorite weapon was a spear in sword and shield, then you can go into dexterity. And as you see, each weapon has their own main stat that it benefits off of. And if you really want to go crazy, if your favorite weapon is rapier and you enjoy the fire staff as well, you can equip both of these weapons and scale off of intelligence. So it's really cool to see how much flexibility that you can have while tanking. Even though I don't know how well this is going to work out for you, fire staff can be really good for AoE and stuff. And of course, as a rapier, you will have your taunt. So yeah, there's a lot of flexibility that you can have, and depending on what weapon you have equipped, you should choose your points wisely and get these milestone bonuses for each weapon. Now let's talk about the weapons themselves. Now as I said before, all melee weapons do have taunt abilities. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go over each taunt that the weapon has to offer and just do a little showcase to see how they look like and just try to understand the taunt in general. Because some taunts are AoE, so it's going to be around your character, but some taunts are just right in front of your character and it's not single target per se. Whereas it is only hitting in front of you, you can hit multiple targets with that ability. So if I do accidentally say single target, just know whatever is hit in front of you, you can hit multiple targets. Hopefully that makes sense. But with the first ability, or first weapon, we're just going to go right down the list here. Sword and shield, in my opinion, is the best tanking weapon. And we're going to go over maybe in another video like best talent points to pick up. For now, we're just going to showcase the actual taunts themselves. So sword and shield has 2 taunts. It's the only weapon that has 2 taunts, and the first one is shield bash. So as you see, if you go over the different abilities, it shows you what it does. But then when you go to a taunt ability, it has this little text at the bottom that says taunt gem compatible. If you have a carnelian gem equipped in your sword, this ability will cause a 6-second taunt to all enemies hit. So again, in front of you, but you can hit multiple targets. So let's go ahead and see what shield bash is. We're just going to beat up on this lamppost. Boom. So anything in front of me in a close proximity hit by this will be taunted. And then going into the other taunt, which is also the best defensive in my opinion in the game, Defiant Stance. So if you have a carnelian gem, this ability causes a 6-second taunt to all enemies within 8 meters. So one thing I wish they bring to the future is if you hold the ability, you can see the taunt area around. So right now I'm using my ultimate for the sword and shield, which shows you the circle around your character, and whatever's in this is affected by this defensive. But if you do the taunt, you don't really see, and you can't really hold it to see the area around. So hopefully in the future they make it so you can hold the taunt ability and see the circle around, so you know whether to move or what mobs are close or not. But that is the second taunt ability, Defiant Stance. So again, not only does it reduce incoming damage, but it also taunts as well. It is on a 45-second cooldown, but still, 2 taunts with 1 weapon is pretty good. So moving on to our next weapon, the hatchet. So the hatchet, actually, I was going to go down the list, but we have the hatchet out already, sorry. The taunt ability for the hatchet is the Berserk. So not only does it trigger a Berserk mode that increases all attack damage by 20%, is when we use this ability, it causes an 8-second taunt to all enemies with 8 meters. So you see some taunts are better than others. I'm not sure if, it's obviously intended, but depending on the weapon, some taunts are just going to be naturally better. And this is probably one of the best taunts in the game. 15-second cooldown, and it's an 8-second taunt to all enemies within 8 meters. So really quickly before I do go on to the weapons, I do want to talk about weapon buffs. So weapon buffs are individually for each weapon. So for example, if I were to use Defiant Stance, I do get the buff you see down there for 8 seconds. But if I switch to my other weapon, in this case a hatchet, that buff goes away. So just a little tip, just throwing in there randomly to keep in mind, if you ever use a buff and then switch to another weapon, you will lose that buff. But in certain situations, it can be beneficial. So for example, one of the talents I have for Defiant Stance is gain 15% of your max health when Defiant Stance ends. So if you're ever in a pinch and you need that little bit of health, once you use Defiant Stance and you switch a weapon, that buff goes away, so you get that heal instantly. So just a little bit of how weapon swapping works. You lose the buffs that you have on that specific weapons, but you can still benefit from things like Restoration Talent, which when the buff goes away, you get 15% of your HP. Hopefully, I apologize for going into that, but I just wanted to add that before I forget. And as well as Berserk. When you use Berserk, the cooldown won't start happening until Berserk ends. So for example, it's a 15-second cooldown. When I press the button, it will not go on cooldown until I lose the Berserk buff. And in this situation, if you want your taunt to come back faster, and if you know you're going to be getting to an AoE pack in a few pulls, you can switch your weapon to get rid of the buff to incur the cooldown a little bit faster. Just a quick tip there. I apologize, I don't know if I should have added to this part, but it is what it is. We're moving on. So that's the taunt with the hatchet. Again, pretty good taunt. And let's go into the rapier and spear next. So let me go ahead and equip these weapons. And you cannot change your weapon if you have a cooldown on any weapon. So just another quick note. So going into the spear, we do have Vault Kick. So use your spear to vault forward to kick your target, dealing 75% weapon damage and applying a stun. And this ability causes a 2-second taunt when it hits. Again, you'll see some taunts are better than others, and some weapons are going to fall more into a support role rather than a main weapon that you have. But just in case you ever, if you really do enjoy spear and you want a taunt option, there is the Vault Kick. Go ahead and show it off here. Looks pretty cool though. 15-second cooldown, and it kicks everything in front of you. And you know, the main theme of the spear is, I guess, is range. So if you're ever a little bit too far and need to close the gap, Vault Kick is a really good option. And then going into the rapier, which I have the least experience in, but the taunt isn't too bad. Riposte on a 20-second cooldown. So basically this is like a parry. So if you parry someone's attack when you press this button, this ability causes a 4-second taunt to all foes within 5 meters. So even though you taunt just a single attack, it's going to do even if you parry a single attack, it's going to taunt everything around you. So Riposte is a pretty decent AoE taunt option, and yeah, one of the higher skill weapons. I haven't really tanked with it much, but maybe if you do enjoy rapier, there is an option for that as well. Now moving into the beefier boys, the Great Axe and the Warhammer. Let's go ahead and showcase these once my cooldowns come off, 5 seconds. And Great Axe is my second favorite tanking weapon, just because of the damage and just how fun it is. All right, going into Warhammer, we have Shockwave. So again, a really good AoE taunt. This ability causes a 6-second taunt when it hits. So there are talents to increase the range, but that's pretty much what it is. Again, a good AoE taunt if more than one mob is in the area, or if some run past you, if a DPS pulls a little bit earlier than you would like. And then going into Great Axe, this is a more of a frontal cone taunt, and that taunt is going to be Reap. So extend your axe 5 meters, pulling foes to you and dealing 110% weapon damage. So this causes a 4-second taunt when it hits. So not only do you pull in the enemies, but you taunt them as well. Then you can go and have fun with your swings. So just wanted to showcase really quick what the taunts look like, and again, understanding what taunt to use in a different situation. I mean, unless I desperately needed it, like for example, I wouldn't be using my Warhammer AoE taunt if there's only 2 mobs in front of me. I would use my Great Axe instead. Whereas if there were mobs going crazy and they were all around the place, I would use my Shockwave to gather them up and just get them in line so I can swing and get more aggro. So that's a little bit of the showcase of the taunts. Hopefully that helps you see what kind of taunt you want to be using, or maybe what weapon you're going to be trying. Alright, so talking about the weapons, of course, as you saw, we do need a taunt gem in our weapon in order to benefit from those taunt abilities, as well as the taunt gem or the carnelian does give us more threat. So in this one, we do have the 2nd level of carnelian giving us the taunts, but as well increasing our threat by 200%. So this is going to be very important when you are deciding to tank, and I'll show you how to get really fast weapons with sockets in them, because I don't believe right now, maybe I'm wrong, you can craft weapons with gems in them. I'm not sure how you do that yet. I haven't gotten that far, but let's go ahead and go to the stone cutting table here. So the stone cutting table, of course, is going to allow you to cut flawed carnelians in order to get those gems. Now, once you're seeing this, you see 2 stats on here. One's taunting and one's calming. The bottom one is more for equipping it to your armor. The top one is if you equip the gem into your weapon. So I'm not going to go over the best tanking gems here. I'm just going to go over the carnelian, which is the taunting one. And of course, as you craft better carnelians, not only are you going to activate those taunts, but you are going to increase your threat. So the 2nd carnelian that we can cut here gives us the taunt, but increases our threat by 200%. So I feel like it's going to be very important to craft these. I think stone cutting is probably going to be one of the higher tiers for tanking when it comes to professions, and then maybe armor smith, but maybe we'll talk about that in another video. But this is how you get the carnelian right here, by coming to the stone cutting table. And of course you get these gems by mining, and the motes by mining specific things out in the world as well. So really quick, let's head over to how you can get a very quick weapon with a gem in it, since from my knowledge you can't craft anything with a gem, at least on these earlier levels, and this is a beginner's guide. So if you go to your faction rep, at least for Marauders, once you get enough tokens from doing your faction quests, you can buy rewards, and each one of these weapons do have a gem in it. So for example, if I wanted to get a Great Axe, it shows that it does have a gem. This is one quick way to get very fast gems in your weapons, and they only require level 15. And the first dungeon, it requires level 25. You can go in there earlier than that, but before you do go in there, you want to at least pick up one of these weapons with the socket in them, so you could put that taunting gem in there and do more threats. So yeah, really good way to get a very early taunting weapon, and make sure you're making your gems there at the stone cutting table, or you can buy them. I'm not sure what the price is going to be at the start of the server, but gold is kind of hard to get, so you want to rely on yourself for the most part. So keeping to the theme of professions, there's 2 other good professions that can be very useful as a tank, and that is Arcana. So you can go ahead and craft yourself potions, whether you need regeneration potions, that burst healing potion, or maybe some coatings that can let you do some extra damage to a specific type of mob. There's a lot of things here that can boost the output potential of your tanking as well as help the healer out. But the profession that I probably would put most over everything else would be cooking. So if you didn't know, cooking is very important in New World. Not only do you get bonuses from stats, and we're just going to go over these lower level ones because these are, the basic ones we're all going to be starting off with. So we can get some stats. We can, boost one specific stat or spread it out from like strength and constitution. And while we're under these effects, your health will slowly recover. So I believe there's no other passive way to get health back if you're just running around, besides, throwing a heal over time on yourself and stuff like that. But while having a food buff, I believe this is the only way you can passively get health back. So this really helps not only for the stats, but maybe if you're in between pools, your healer is on cooldown or he's out of mana, you can be getting that passive heal back. So you can, move faster and not make the healer panic and not make yourself panic and use a defensive cooldown when you don't need to. But again, potions are very easy to find. You can find them out in the open world, just opening chests. But a very early option that you can get potions from is coming over here again to your faction vendor. All you have to do is open to the rewards and you can buy yourself a bunch of common healing elixirs, which is very good to have. Keep yourself alive and again help the healer out. But the one cool thing about potions is that there's two different type of healing potions. There is that burst healing potion with these common healing elixirs, or the common regeneration potions, or just regeneration potions. So if you didn't know, you can use these both without incurring a cooldown on the other. So for example, I can use my common elixir common healing elixir for that burst heal, and then if I needed to, I can go into my regeneration potion either before or after. So a good thing with that is maybe you pop your regeneration potion when starting a fight, so you get that passive heal back, or that slower heal back, and then if in a sticky situation or an intense situation, you can pop that common healing elixir for that burst healing to top you off or get you from almost dying. So I thought that was pretty cool that you're able to use both without incurring a cooldown in one or the other. So very important to know when going into a dungeon. Make sure you have your food buff and make sure you are stacked with potions. Alright, so now that we're out in the open world, let's take a look at some combat so we can understand what to look for while tanking and just combat from a tanking perspective. So let's find something really quick. And the first thing I want y'all to do is take a look at the health bar. So I think we found like a cougar somewhere in here, or a leopard. There it is. Okay, so as we're looking at the leopard, you see the health bar, how it's just a white border around it. That means we currently are not in combat and we do not have aggro on the target. But you'll see when we do get into combat and we do have aggro, the nameplate will flash red. There it is. So if you're fighting stuff in the dungeon or around the open world, and if you're tanking, if that health bar isn't flashing red, that means you do not have aggro and you need to establish it back. So let's go over a few more things with tanking. So while we're tanking, we have a stamina bar, and our stamina bar is at 100. So we can effectively mitigate all damage as long as we're holding up our shield and we have stamina. But what happens when we run out of stamina while blocking? We get stunned and open ourselves up for more damage. So we want to avoid that as much as possible with the use of dodging. So dodging costs 50 stamina. Let's go ahead and pop a potion so we don't die. And you want to utilize dodging when a heavier attack like that is coming up. So when the enemy glows bright like that, that means a heavy attack is coming with grit and you need to move out of the way, or you're going to take heavy damage to your health pool or your stamina bar. So while utilizing dodge, even though it costs 50 stamina, let's go ahead and take a few more hits here. We're at 38 stamina right now. Even though we're under 50, we can still utilize a dodge. So it doesn't matter how much stamina you have. As long as you have 1 point of stamina, you can dodge. So keep that in mind as well as you're taking damage from light attacks, and then you see a heavy attack and you need to dodge it as well. So those are the two things to really pay attention. Well, three things: the aggro with the red flashing meter, your stamina, and utilizing your dodge to get out of those heavy attacks. So when they're glowing bright like that, that means they have grit. That means they cannot be knocked back, but they can be stunned. So if you see a heavy attack and you're close enough, see if we can utilize our shield blast to stun it out so we can completely negate that attack. Okay, that was unfortunate. It looks like we just barely missed there, but let's try it again once our cooldown comes up. Let's see if we can even shield bash him out of the grid attack. Take a few hits here. Okay, so again, a shield bash, or shield charge, excuse me, is considered a knockback and not a stun. So while they have grid activated, you cannot knock them back, only stun them. Okay, our shield bash is up. And let's utilize it. Okay, a little bit late, that's fine. Let's try it again. And that's one thing that I do suggest, is that while you're out in the open world, utilize your dodge, utilize your stamina, so when you do get into the expeditions, you don't feel rusty and you're not feeling flustered from all the attacks. Let's go ahead and dodge that. 5 seconds left. We're out of stamina, so we can still dodge. Alright, let's see if we can shield bash it. We got unlucky once, we fucked up twice the second time. Let's see if we can get it this time. There we go, let's move in. It's done, and we completely cancel his grid attack. Now we can go for a little bit more offense and then go back into defense. Dodge that, maybe 2 swings, put up your shield, take these light attacks, and then finish the leopard off. So, wasn't perfect, but I hope that, you know, that little display helps you understand the aggro. Again, flashing red, that means you have aggro. Utilize your dodge as well as your stuns and avoid those heavier attacks. Doesn't matter how much stamina you have, even though dodge does cost 50, even if you have 28, even if you have 7, you can still utilize a dodge. So keep that in mind when fighting mobs and learning their attack patterns. So one of the last things I have for you is to make sure to stand in the green healing circles while you're in expeditions. Those are from the healer, and I feel like it's, from what I've seen, it's very difficult for a healer to aim skill shots. So the healing circles might go around everywhere. So do your best to not only position the boss, but position yourself so you're getting the healing, the DPS is getting the healing. But there is mono blocking in the game, so that's one of the other challenges to get over, is to do your best to position and put yourself in a position where you're standing in the healing and you're able to put up your shield and maybe get some blocks off. So that was all I really had for a basic, beginner tanking guide. Hopefully with those tips and just showcasing some of the abilities, showcasing some of the combat, and just letting y'all know what to do in certain situations. Hopefully that has helped you not only want to choose to tank, but when you go into your first dungeon, you're not going in there blind and you have a little bit of knowledge. But let me know what you guys think about the video. Let me know if there's some stuff I did miss. I'm still learning as a tank, so hopefully y'all can help me out in the comments below as well. Let me know what your favorite weapon is that we showcased, what taunts you're going to utilize, as well as make sure to follow my Twitch and my Twitter down in the description below. I really do appreciate it. These videos are so fun for me to make. It's sad that the beta is ending on August 2nd, but we're going to have a lot of fun on August 31st when it does come out. So for the future, make sure to let me know what you guys think and what other tanking videos you want to see, maybe more like specific talent guides, build guides, or maybe dungeon guides. And I'll do my best to make them when the game does come out. Other than that, I will see y'all then. I appreciate it. Everyone have a great day.